Despite winning the treble last season, Manchester City have lost several key players in the transfer window, with the likes of Riyad Mahrez and Aymeric Laporte going to Saudi Arabia, and club captain İlkay Gündoğan moving to Barcelona. However, despite losing that calibre of player, Pep Guardiola has had a fantastic transfer window, bringing in the likes of Pep Guardiola, Mateo Kovacic, Matheus Nunes, and Jérémy Doku, and in this video, I'm going to talk about the latter. So with that being said, who is Jérémy Doku, and why is he Riyad Mahrez's perfect replacement? The 21-year-old is still very much a raw talent, but his profile is such a rare one to find, and it fits Pep Guardiola's attacking philosophy to a T. Or does it? Well, he's a winger that likes to operate as close as possible to the touchline, which perfectly aligns with Pep's positional setup. We can see exactly how the Spaniard likes to use his wingers by looking at Jack Grealish and Bernardo Silva. Both love to drop slightly deeper to get onto the ball as much as possible, staying tight to the touchline, which consequently stretches and applies pressure to the opponent's defensive line. Receiving the ball in these areas are crucial in how Man City played last season, with the additional space created allowing the likes of İlkay Gündoğan to make late runs into that left half space channel. City's number 10 gets heavily criticised for his lack of goal contributions, but I don't think that criticism is justified. He's almost like a sacrificial lamb in this City team, being used to create attacking chances for others rather than himself. And I don't think there's many better wingers that could operate in that role on that left hand side, and the same can also be said for Bernardo Silva on that right hand side too. Both wingers' attacking outputs aren't necessarily impressive, but that's intentional. Their roles are designed to optimise ball retention and game control. However, this hasn't always been the case for Pep's City team. In the earlier days of Guardiola's time in Manchester, the Spaniards' two main wingers for the most part were Leroy Sané and Raheem Sterling, two players you'd associate with attacking output rather than facilitation. In the 17-18 season, the year the Citizens became Centurions, Sané and Sterling combined contributed to 57 goal involvements in the league, with the German even winning the PFA Young Player of the Year award. So, comparing that total to last season, the most used winger combination combined to just 22 goal involvements, a massive difference in outputs between the two seasons. So this in itself clearly shows that tactical development in how the winger role under Pep Guardiola has transitioned. So where does new signing Jérémy Doku fit into all this? The signing of the Belgian isn't a surprise, however that tactical change in the winger role previously talked about has sparked some questions in how he might be utilised. With the departure of Raheem Sterling and Riyad Mahrez, there was no longer that goal-scoring winger left at City, until now. So who actually is Jérémy Doku, and what can we expect to see from him? Well, he's a bold player on the ball to say the least, almost always looking to be direct and take on his man with his excellent dribbling ability. He always aims to find that vertical option in the build-up, and capable of carrying the ball and the team up the pitch into goal-scoring positions. The 21-year-old is at his best on the counter-attack, as he is extremely dangerous on the break with his pace and acceleration. Doku's prized asset though is his dribbling ability. In wide areas, he's been very useful for his team as he drags defenders out of position and then dribbles past them to create chances for his teammates. At his age bracket, he's probably one of the best 1v1 wingers in Europe. He'd rather try beat his man and get the ball into dangerous areas as opposed to focusing on ball retention, which is very promising, yet not what you typically see in Pep's attacking philosophy today, and the stats show this. Grealish and Bernardo Silva combined only attempt 7.7 take-ons per 90 with a low 44.5% completion rate, highlighting their instructions to retain possession and control rather than taking risks. Doku on the other hand averages 10.7 take-ons per 90, with 6.6 of them being successful, which ranks him in the top 1% of wingers in Europe for both metrics. He's kind of a contradiction to how City's set up, but he adds that extra attacking dimension to City's game that teams won't be used to. He's a player that can be allowed to take risks because he's that good at beating his man, progressing the ball up the pitch in a different way. So although he might not be in the same profile as the current wings at City, his abilities and attributes are parallel to how City play. Just to reel off some statistics, Doku ranks in the top 1% of wingers for total and progressive carrying distance, carries into the final third, carries into the penalty box, as well as shot and goal creating actions, which is ridiculous for the player of his age. His direct approach when moving with the ball, combined with his explosiveness and unpredictability, means he's so hard to defend against, especially in 1v1 isolated scenarios. And it's no surprise he ranks in the top 3% of players for fouls drawn, with 2.6 per 90. His ability to cut inside as well as beat his man on the outside and wider areas makes him a defender's nightmare. and when you take into consideration how rapid he is and how quickly he can accelerate, really makes him a problem to deal with. As for his attacking output, there is definitely room for improvement, but the underlying data is very promising, and he's only going to get significantly better when playing in the best team in the world. Last season in France, Doku registered 7 goals and 4 assists in all comps, with a goal contribution every 147 minutes. Although these numbers aren't excellent, his 0.18 assists per 90 were drastically lower than his expected assists of 0.4 per 90, meaning that those numbers should naturally improve, especially considering he'll be playing alongside the most clinical striker in Europe in Erling Haaland. His goal scoring numbers are likely to improve as well, with his 0.4 non-penalty goals per 90, putting him in the same ballpark as the likes of Ollie Watkins, Ivan Toney and Bukayo Saka. The Belgian only played just over 1,600 minutes across all competitions last year, only completing a full 90 in 3 league games, so his output isn't bad at all considering his lack of game time. I do expect his game time to increase this season, despite it usually taking new signings under Pep a season or two to become established players. The reigning champions of England and Europe will play a lot of games this season as expected, so with Doku's ability to play on both wings effectively, I expect him to feature heavily this season. It was also announced yesterday that Chelsea have bought Manchester City Academy graduate Cole Palmer, who has also been used on that right hand side, so consistent game time for Doku looks nailed on at this point as he rotates with Bernardo Silva. So just to summarise, I think City's new number 11 is going to cause absolute chaos in England, especially if he's used as an impact sub against tired defences. When looking at Guardiola's approach to new signings, like I've just previously mentioned, the Spaniard does normally like to slowly implement his players into the first team fold, meaning for most, it normally takes a season or two to get consistent playtime. Still just 21, with over 100 league appearances to his name, as well as international caps for Belgium, I think he's bound to shine as Manchester City inevitably win the Premier League once again. If you'd like to listen to me waffle about any players in particular, please feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you soon.